Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the road to success is not a road at all. It feels more like walking barefoot on broken glass. Every step stings, every mile tests your will. But those who make it to the end know something most do not. Behind every shining success is a story of silent sacrifices. Sacrifice begins when comfort ends. And for most people, that is exactly why they never start. It is so much easier to stay where you are, do what you know, and avoid the heavy lifting of change. But the truth is, comfort is a beautiful place where nothing grows. If you want to become stronger, wiser, more capable, you have to be willing to let go of what feels safe. Letting go of comfort is not just about working late or waking up early. It is about pushing yourself into unfamiliar places, mentally, emotionally, and physically. It is about choosing the harder road when everyone else is choosing easy. It is about studying when your eyes want rest, practicing when your heart feels broken, and staying focused when the world gives you every reason to quit. A stronger version of you does not come from success alone. It comes from the days you failed and still showed up. From the hours you doubted yourself and still took the risk. From the moments you were unsure but still moved forward. That strength is not built in a day. It is built every time you decide not to take the easy way out. Comfort whispers lies. It tells you this is enough. You are fine here. Why risk it? But inside a fire burns. A voice that says, there is more in you. You were made for more. Sacrifice is listening to that voice instead of the whispers. And that decision, it changes everything. You start to see your time differently. You protect it because you know every hour spent on growth is a brick in the foundation of your dreams. You treat your energy like gold, investing it in things that build you up, not tear you down. You stop settling. You start building. You become okay with missing out because you are not missing anything. You are gaining everything. People might not understand. They might say you've changed, and you have, because the version of you who stays comfortable is not the version who becomes unstoppable. And yes, it will hurt. You will feel lonely. You will question everything. But one day, when the results start to show, when the strength inside you begins to roar, you will know every sacrifice made you. The stronger version of you does not need permission. It needs discipline. It needs fire. It needs sacrifice. And once you begin to let go of comfort, the real journey starts. Not the journey to success, but the journey to yourself. Because success is not the prize. It is the reflection of who you became on the way, and who you became. That is the true victory. Real success begins when you give up distractions. It sounds simple, almost too obvious to matter. But that one decision can rewrite your entire life. Distractions are not just loud noises or flashing screens. They are also the tiny thoughts pulling you away from purpose. The unnecessary drama, the overthinking, the craving to be liked, the need to explain yourself to people who will never understand. These are distractions too, and they add up, not in hours but in stolen dreams. We live in a world that rewards short attention spans. Everything is built to keep you busy, not focused. You wake up with good intentions. Maybe today you will finally work on that goal, start that business, build that body, write that story. But by the end of the day, you have replied to 50 messages, watched 30 reels, compared yourself to 10 people, and completed 0 steps toward your dream. That is how distraction wins. Not with force, but with gentle, addictive delay. And the worst part, it feels normal. It feels okay. You tell yourself, tomorrow I will start, not realizing that the habit of postponing is what has already begun. The day you realize that distraction is not just wasted time, but a stolen future, you start to treat your focus like a sacred thing. You start guarding your energy like it actually matters, because it does. Distractions are clever. They do not always look harmful. Some of them wear the mask of productivity. They feel like you are doing something useful, but you are not moving anywhere. Answering emails, checking updates, reading posts, switching tabs, all of it tricks you into thinking you are working. But real work, the kind that changes your life, is uncomfortable, focused, and usually quiet. It is the deep, undivided time where you lose track of the world and give yourself completely to the task that matters. Success does not need perfection, it needs presence, and presence cannot survive in a distracted mind. You cannot hear your inner voice when everything outside is shouting. You cannot follow your purpose when every second your phone buzzes with someone else's. That is why the real winners are not always the most talented. They are often the most focused, the ones who chose to disconnect from what was easy so they could reconnect with what was essential. Giving up distractions means giving up approval, giving up noise, giving up the need to constantly entertain yourself. It means learning to be bored, learning to sit in silence, learning to do the work without applause. Because most of your progress will happen in those boring, quiet, lonely moments when no one is watching and nothing is trending. And yes, you will miss out, but what you gain in return is clarity, clarity of thought, clarity of goal. You begin to feel lighter, sharper, more in control. Life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. Your mornings begin with intention, not reaction. Your nights end with fulfillment, not regret. You wake up and remember your dream, not your feed. And slowly, success begins to show up, not as a sudden breakthrough, but as a quiet reward for your discipline. The moment you start giving up distractions, you are no longer living on default. You are designing your life. You are becoming someone who chooses their thoughts, their time, their direction, and that choice, that powerful daily difficult choice, is where real success begins. Emotional sacrifices often hurt the most but shape you the deepest. They are not always visible, not something you can post about or explain to others. They happen quietly, deep inside, where no one claps, no one notices, and no one really understands what you gave up just to keep going. When people talk about sacrifice, they often speak of money, time, energy, but emotions, they are the currency of the soul. And when you spend them for your dream, the cost is high. Sometimes it is the sacrifice of love, of walking away from someone who does not support your growth, even though you still care. That decision does not break your heart once. It breaks it in pieces again and again, every time you remember what could have been. But you still walk, because some love keeps you small, some love pulls you back. And when your dream calls louder than comfort, you start to understand that real love, the kind that aligns with purpose, will never ask you to shrink. Sometimes it is the sacrifice of approval. You stop trying to please everyone, knowing that not everyone will get it. Not everyone will clap when you rise. Some people will distance themselves, not because you did anything wrong, but because your success reminds them of what they did not choose. That hurts, especially when it is family, friends, or people you once leaned on, but growth has a way of peeling away what cannot walk with you. And the loneliness that follows, that is a test. It asks, how badly do you want this? Then there is the sacrifice of your past self, the version of you that was soft, unafraid to dream but terrified to act. You begin to bury the need to be liked, to always say yes, to avoid conflict. You stop being available to every invitation, every opinion, every expectation. It feels like losing yourself, but really you are shedding the layers that no longer fit. It is painful, because even your weaknesses were familiar, even your limits felt safe, but you outgrow the cage, and with every emotional goodbye to the person you used to be, you make space for someone braver. Emotional sacrifice is also about patience. You might carry wounds that no one sees. You show up with a smile, with discipline, with consistency. But inside you are healing. Still, you do not use your pain as an excuse. You carry it like armor. You let it teach you. You choose forgiveness where revenge was easier. You choose hope when doubt whispers louder. That strength is not loud. It does not post quotes or shout affirmations. It just gets up quietly, again and again. People rarely talk about the emotional weight of success. The guilt of choosing your dream over others' expectations, the fear of leaving behind a life that once felt enough, the heartbreak of being misunderstood. But in all these sacrifices, something sacred is built, not just achievements, not just milestones, but depth, wisdom, grit. You begin to understand people better. You stop judging too quickly. You carry more empathy in your words, because you know what it costs to become someone. Every tear you held back, every time you walked alone, every night you doubted yourself but still didn't quit, it all shaped you. It carved out space in your soul for courage. It rewired your emotions to serve your vision instead of your fear. And in that space you found something unshakable, something the world cannot touch, something no one can take away. The kind of strength that does not break, even when everything else does. You cannot keep everything and still grow. Learn to choose. That is the hard truth people avoid. Growth is not about adding more to your life, it is about letting go. You have to unlearn, release, and shed the things, people, habits, and thoughts that no longer serve the person you are becoming. It is uncomfortable. It feels like loss. But real growth always starts with subtraction. You try to carry everything with you, old routines, toxic friendships, emotional baggage, past mistakes, other people's expectations, and still expect to rise. But life does not work that way. The higher you climb, the lighter you need to be. There is a reason trees shed their leaves before they grow new ones. There is a reason rockets drop weight as they break through gravity. You cannot elevate while holding on to everything. At some point, you must choose what stays and what goes. Choosing is painful because it forces clarity. You have to confront your own patterns. You have to admit when something you loved has expired. You have to make peace with the fact that not everything is meant to last. That some people were only meant to walk with you part of the way. And that does not make them bad or make you cold. It just means your journey is shifting, and you are respecting the direction of your life. People will not always understand why you stop showing up the same way, why you pull back, why you are not available for everything anymore. They might think you have changed, and they are right. Growth changes your appetite. What once entertained you now drains you. What once comforted you now distracts you. You start to crave silence instead of noise, truth instead of sugar-coated lies, purpose instead of popularity. You start to realize that every yes you give takes energy, and that energy must be protected. You begin to build boundaries not as walls to keep people out, but as fences to keep your energy safe. You no longer say yes just to be polite. You no longer tolerate what you used to, just to keep the peace. You start choosing peace over performance, solitude over fake connection, depth over surface, and in that space of choice, growth starts to bloom. You choose discipline over desire. You choose progress over comfort. You choose purpose over pressure. Every time you say no to something that does not align with your path, you are saying yes to a future that does. That is the silent work, the invisible decisions, the moments no one claps for but matter more than anything else. The world will see your results, but you will always know the quiet choices that built them. Letting go is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is knowing that you do not need to hold on to everything just to feel secure. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from what you have outgrown. That your future does not belong in hands that are full of what was. The art of choosing is the art of becoming. You cannot transform without letting something die, an identity, a role, a relationship, a version of yourself. Growth is not clean. It is messy, emotional, and confusing. but it is also necessary, because staying the same is easy, but becoming who you are meant to be, that takes courage. That takes sacrifice. That takes choosing your future over your past, again and again, until your life starts to reflect the strength it took to build it. Every sacrifice adds weight to your purpose. It is like each decision you make to let something go becomes a brick in the foundation of your vision. These are not just things you give up. They are silent commitments, reminders that you are serious about the life you are building. At first, it feels like loss, like you are constantly missing out while others are celebrating, relaxing, or living in comfort. But over time, you start to notice something changing. Your dream begins to feel heavier, not in a burdensome way, but in a way that tells you it matters. It has depth now, substance, because you paid for it with pieces of your life. You begin to understand that sacrifice is not about suffering for the sake of it. It is about proving to yourself more than anyone else that your dream is worth something, it is valuable, it is sacred, and if something is sacred, you protect it, you prioritize it, you choose it over ease, over convenience, over instant gratification. That choice makes your purpose stronger, more rooted, more real. People often ask how to stay motivated. The truth is, motivation fades. What keeps you going is meaning, and the more you sacrifice for something, the more meaning it holds. If you have skipped meals, delayed celebrations, lost sleep, stayed silent when you wanted to scream, all because of one vision, then that vision becomes part of who you are. You cannot walk away from it, not because you are trapped, but because you have poured so much of yourself into it that it is now too personal to abandon. It is like carrying a heavy bag. At first, the weight feels unbearable, but as your body adapts, your muscles grow stronger. It is the same with purpose. The more you carry it, the more weight you add through discipline, effort, and sacrifice, the more your capacity grows. You do not become weaker. You become capable of more, you expand, and yes, the weight will sometimes feel unfair. You will look around and see others seemingly doing less, struggling less, and still getting ahead. But you do not know what they are carrying, and even if they are not carrying much, that is not your race. That is not your road. Your purpose was never supposed to be light. It was supposed to stretch you, shape you, build you into someone who can handle what you asked for. Every time you stay focused when distraction tempts you, wait. Every time you wake up early, when your body begs to rest, wait. Every time you hear no but keep knocking anyway, wait. These moments feel small when they happen, but together they build something unshakable, a purpose that is not just a dream, but a lived experience. And along the way, you stop measuring your progress by what others see. You start measuring it by what you carry. You realize that every hard decision, every delay, every moment of doubt you endured added another layer of meaning to your mission. Your sacrifices become your story, not the part you show off, but the part that holds you up when everything feels uncertain. That is why shortcuts never feel as fulfilling, because they skip the weight, they bypass the sacrifice. And with that, they miss the depth. Your purpose becomes powerful because you built it from the inside out. With sweat, with tears, with time, and that kind of purpose cannot be taken away. It does not break easily. It does not vanish in crisis. It stays because it was earned. The biggest sacrifices are often invisible. They are the ones no one thanks you for, the ones no one notices, and the ones you do not even speak about. They are quiet, they are personal, and they are powerful. These are the sacrifices made in silence, where you choose to hold back tears instead of breaking down, where you smile when your heart is heavy, where you keep moving when all you want to do is stop. No applause follows, no recognition arrives, yet those moments shape your soul more than anything else. You sacrifice your pride when you choose peace over proving a point. You sacrifice your comfort when you show up to work on your dream despite fear, doubt, or exhaustion. You sacrifice your time when you stay up late learning, building, failing, and trying again, while everyone else sleeps. These acts might seem small from the outside, but they require more strength than anyone will ever know. The truth is, the world often only celebrates what it can see, the trophy, the title, the win, but what lies beneath those victories are years of invisible choices. Late, night battles with self-doubt, mornings where you forced yourself out of bed despite no guarantee that your efforts would pay off. Days where you wanted to quit but didn't, simply because something inside told you not to. That kind of sacrifice is not glamorous. It is gritty and it is real. You start to realize that your strength is not just in how much you achieve, but in how much you silently endure. It is in the moments where you swallow your fears and keep showing up. In the times when you carry others on your shoulders without letting them know you are tired too. In the hours you pour into your purpose without needing credit, likes, or validation. There is something sacred about doing the hard thing even when no one is watching. It builds a kind of character that no spotlight can create. You grow deeper, not louder, wiser, not flashier. And that depth, it makes you unstoppable, because when your drive is built on silent sacrifices, it is not tied to praise. It is tied to purpose. You are not moved by attention, you are moved by intention. Sometimes the biggest sacrifice is believing in yourself when no one else does. Choosing to bet on your vision when everyone else tells you to be realistic. That choice is lonely. It hurts, but it also sets you apart, because most people wait for approval before they act. You act in silence and let the results do the talking. There are sacrifices you make that no one will ever understand, like the relationships you distance yourself from because they drain your spirit. The events you skip because you are building something bigger, the habits you kill because they no longer match your future. You do not always explain these choices. You just make them, because deep down you know who you are becoming matters more than who you are trying to please. The weight of invisible sacrifice can feel heavy, especially when there is no one to share it with. But with time it becomes your strength. It teaches you patience, resilience, and trust. Trust that your work is not wasted. Trust that your story is unfolding, even if slowly. And trust that your quiet effort is creating loud results, even if no one sees it yet. You stop needing permission. You stop needing to be seen. You start walking with a quiet power, the kind that does not beg for attention, but commands respect through presence. That is what invisible sacrifice does. It transforms you from within without needing anyone to notice, without needing anyone to understand. The biggest sacrifices are often invisible. They are the ones no one thanks you for, the ones no one notices, and the ones you do not even speak about. They are quiet, they are personal, and they are powerful. These are the sacrifices made in silence, where you choose to hold back tears instead of breaking down, where you smile when your heart is heavy, where you keep moving when all you want to do is stop. No applause follows, no recognition arrives, yet those moments shape your soul more than anything else. You sacrifice your pride when you choose peace over proving a point. You sacrifice your comfort when you show up to work on your dream despite fear, doubt, or exhaustion. You sacrifice your time when you stay up late learning, building, failing, and trying again, while everyone else sleeps. These acts might seem small from the outside, but they require more strength than anyone will ever know. The truth is, the world often only celebrates what it can see, the trophy, the title, the win, but what lies beneath those victories are years of invisible choices. Late, night battles with self-doubt, mornings where you forced yourself out of bed despite no guarantee that your efforts would pay off. Days where you wanted to quit but didn't, simply because something inside told you not to. That kind of sacrifice is not glamorous. It is gritty and it is real. You start to realize that your strength is not just in how much you achieve, but in how much you silently endure. It is in the moments where you swallow your fears and keep showing up, in the times when you carry others on your shoulders without letting them know you are tired too, in the hours you pour into your purpose without needing credit, likes, or validation. There is something sacred about doing the hard thing even when no one is watching. It builds a kind of character that no spotlight can create. You grow deeper, not louder, wiser, not flashier. And that depth, it makes you unstoppable, because when your drive is built on silent sacrifices, it is not tied to praise. It is tied to purpose. You are not moved by attention, you are moved by intention. Sometimes the biggest sacrifice is believing in yourself when no one else does. Choosing to bet on your vision when everyone else tells you to be realistic. That choice is lonely. It hurts, but it also sets you apart, because most people wait for approval before they act. You act in silence and let the results do the talking. There are sacrifices you make that no one will ever understand, like the relationships you distance yourself from because they drain your spirit, the events you skip because you are building something bigger, the habits you kill because they no longer match your future. You do not always explain these choices. You just make them, because deep down you know who you are becoming matters more than who you are trying to please. The weight of invisible sacrifice can feel heavy, especially when there is no one to share it with. But with time it becomes your strength. It teaches you patience, resilience, and trust. Trust that your work is not wasted. Trust that your story is unfolding, even if slowly. And trust that your quiet effort is creating loud results, even if no one sees it yet. You stop needing permission. You stop needing to be seen. You start walking with a quiet power, the kind that does not beg for attention, but commands respect through presence. That is what invisible sacrifice does. It transforms you from within without needing anyone to notice, without needing anyone to understand. Sacrificing now creates freedom later. It does not feel like that in the beginning. It feels like punishment. Like everyone else gets to live while you are stuck grinding in the dark. You look around and see people resting, laughing, celebrating, and you wonder if you made the wrong choice. You question yourself when no one is watching. You wonder if the pain is worth it, if the isolation is justified, if the pressure will ever pay off. But something inside you refuses to let go. That quiet fire keeps whispering that this season of sacrifice is not forever. It is preparation. You start saying no to late nights so you can wake up with purpose. You skip events that offer short-term joy because you are building something that demands long-term focus. You watch your peers take breaks, enjoy weekends, spend without thinking, and you feel the sting of delay. But deep down you are trading something. You are choosing delayed gratification over instant relief. And that choice separates dreamers from doers. Freedom does not come from luck. It comes from discipline. It comes from doing the work when it is hard, not glamorous, not appreciated. It comes from knowing that every uncomfortable decision you make today is crafting a future with more options, more peace, more control. When you sacrifice now, you are not losing. You are investing. You are putting in the time, the effort, the sweat, so that later you are not at the mercy of regret. Sacrifice is not just about what you give up. It is about what you gain on the other side, the ability to live on your own terms. To choose how you spend your days, to say yes or no without fear. That kind of freedom only comes from years of consistency when no one is clapping. It is not gifted. It is earned slowly, quietly, day after day. Most people want freedom but are not willing to sacrifice for it. They want results without resistance. They want ease without effort, and when life does not hand it to them, they assume they are unlucky. But the truth is, sacrifice is the door, and discipline is the key. If you are not willing to walk through both, you stay stuck. You stay waiting for something that was never meant to be given. It was meant to be built. And the beautiful thing is, once you have lived through sacrifice, you no longer fear discomfort. You become stronger. You know how to endure. You know how to keep going when things get heavy. You stop needing permission. You stop explaining your journey. You understand that no one else has to see your vision, only you do. And that inner conviction becomes your guide. It keeps you steady when storms come. It reminds you that freedom is not about escaping responsibility. It is about building a life where your responsibilities align with your values. In a world that worships quick wins and shortcuts, choosing sacrifice feels radical. But the rewards are different too. You gain peace in your decisions. You trust your own pace. You know you are not behind. You are just choosing depth over distraction. You are doing the hard thing now, so you do not have to panic later. You are being misunderstood now, so one day you can be unmatched. Sacrificing now means planting seeds others cannot see. You are working underground, while the world only sees empty soil. But in time, something grows, not just success but freedom, the kind that lets you breathe deeply, sleep peacefully, live fully. Because you built it, you bled for it, you earned it.